for joining me on the Listen Up Girl podcast. I'm Zach Randles-Friedman. Today's episode is about power under pressure and what happens when people refuse to stay quiet when systems fail them. We're looking at moments where institutions crack from the inside, where protest forces consequences, where technology outruns ethics, and where culture becomes battleground for those who get to exist safely in public. Some of these stories are heavy, some of them are unsettling, and some remind us of what real support actually looks like. But they'll all ask the same question: who gets protected and who gets the right just to be heard? Our first story is the Department of Justice lawyers resign over handling of Renee Good case. We begin with a rare act of internal dissent. Several lawyers within the U.S. Department of Justice has resigned in protest following the killing of Renee Good, who was shot and killed by an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent in Minneapolis. Reporting indicates the resignations were triggered by outrage over the department's intent to investigate Good's widow, Becca Good, rather than opening a full civil rights investigation into the shooting itself. In her first public statement, Becca Good described her wife as a person defined by warmth and generosity, and simply, Renee was made of sunshine. Career Department of Justice attorneys rarely resign in protest. When they do, it signals more than disagreement. It signals a belief that justice is being directed away from accountability and towards intimidation. That's institutional alarm from the inside. Our next story is San Antonio removes rainbow crosswalks and Pride District. Now to Texas once again, where symbolism has become a battleground. The city of San Antonio has began removing 4 rainbow crosswalks in its Pride Cultural Heritage District, sparking protests and widespread community anger. Local public radio reporting notes that while the city says it plans to preserve elements of the artwork, many residents see the removal as an erasure of something meant to signal welcome and belonging. Rainbow crosswalks are not just paint, they're a daily reminder you exist here. And when those symbols are removed under political pressure, the message can feel like the opposite. Be quieter, be smaller, disappear. Next, New York Attorney General Letitia James leads lawsuit against HHS. A legal fight with national implications. Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, is leading a coalition of states suing the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The lawsuit argues that HHS unlawfully tied federal funding conditions to policies that discriminate against transgender people, despite courts repeatedly blocking similar efforts. This may sound like legal jargon, but the stakes are very real. Healthcare access, education funding, research dollars, and whether federal money becomes a tool for enforcing ideology. When states sue the federal government, it's not symbolic. It's because families, hospitals, and schools stand to lose. Next, AI global backlash. X has restricted its AI tool Grok after it found generating sexualized images of real women and children without consent. Investigations revealed the tool could rapidly produce explicit imagery, raising urgent concerns about digital harassment, exploitation, and the lack of safeguards around generative AI. This isn't just tech drama, it's about consent and how quickly new tools are being deployed without accountability, leaving women, minors, and marginalized people to deal with the harm. That is scary shit right there. When AI starts to do this, that's scary. Our next story is Mackenzie Scott donates $45 million to the Trevor Project. Scott has donated $45 million to the Trevor Project, the largest one-time donation in the organization's history. The Trevor Project says the gift is a long-term investment in sustainability, crisis support, and mental health services for LGBTQ+ youth at a time when those resources are under intense pressure. If you ever wonder whether support matters, this is what support looks like. Not vibes and not hashtags, resources. And now a Euphoria Season 3 trailer drops with a 5-year time jump. Pivoting back to pop culture, but staying with the real theme of identity and consequences, the first trailer of Season 3 Euphoria is out. and coverage confirms a 5-year time jump. The season is scheduled to premiere April 12th on HBO, with a core cast returning. Time jumps are risky, but in Euphoria's case, it signals something specific. The show isn't letting these characters stay in the teen chaos bubble, it's pushing them into the aftershocks, which is kind of the whole point. What happens when the choices you made at 17 follow you to 22? And the show Slo Pitch is a queer sports mockumentary on the horizon. A cultural splash of heated rivalry attention is turning into Crave's upcoming lesbian softball series Slo Pitch, a 10-episode mockumentary centered on queer underdog Slo Pitch team with involvement from Elliot Page's Pageboy production and Emily Ham as both lead and executive producer. The show promises beer, lesbians, baseball, and a whole lot of heart. A welcome addition to queer representation in sport that isn't just about struggle, but community, laughter, and belonging. And this next story I'm so happy about. Leakes returns to Bravo, but not with a peach. NeNe Leakes is officially back on Bravo, but not as part of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Instead, her return comes with a format shift that longtime Real Housewives of Atlanta fans won't see coming. No peach, no traditional housewives framing, just re-entering the network she helped define on her own terms. And here's why this matters beyond fandom. NeNe's relationship with Bravo has been complicated, public, and at times openly chaotic. Her return signals something rare in reality television, a power renegotiation. This isn't a comeback, it's a re-collaboration. And our last story is about Sydney Sweeney targeted by transphobic conspiracy. Sydney Sweeney, who is the latest public figure targeted by transvestigation conspiracy movement. After a viral post scrutinized her appearance, conspiracists falsely claimed the Euphoria star is secretly transgender, obsessing over her body as supposed evidence. The claim echoes a broader pattern in which transphobic online spaces attempted to expose celebrities using pseudoscience, misogyny, and rigid gender norms. The harassment gained traction just months after MAGA-aligned figures, including Donald Trump, praised Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle ad, a moment that itself sparked criticism over coded messaging around beauty and ideal femininity. Advocates warn that transvestigation culture harms everyone. It fuels harassment of trans people and policies of women's bodies by treating deviation from narrow beauty standards as suspicious. This isn't about one actress, it's about how transphobia and misogyny merge online and who gets targeted when conspiracy theories replaces reality. I don't feel bad for Sydney Sweeney because she is a big MAGA supporter and she is not for the LGBTQ plus community. These stories make clear, and it's this. Power doesn't disappear, it responds to pressure. It responds when lawyers walk away instead of staying silent, when activists refuse to stop, even at a great personal cost, when communities push back against erasure, when technology is forced to confront harm. And when real resources are put behind real care. Change is rarely comfortable, but it is possible, especially when people refuse to accept cruelty as normal. I'm Zach Randles-Friedman, and this is Listen Up, Girl. Thanks for listening and staying present with me through these stories. I'll see you later on this week with more LGBTQ plus news.